Hello. I hope everybody can hear me okay. Tell me if the audio is. I'm trying this in a different room here. That would be pretty easily handled every week. Um, I'll go through some. So this is welcome. This is Super Happy Dragon Lucky episode 0x1D. We probably need a way to pronounce that. I've really tried to look into a standardized way to pronounce hexadecimal. And although there are some things on Silicon Valley, a lot of them don't quite fit what I would like to see. More on that later. Not a big deal. So I have some notes here to go through on status and different things going on. Feel free. I'll have some time to do an AMA. I don't think I have anything running right up against the end of this, so this could be a long one if we want. And I do have a call, but it's kind of flexible after this, and I think everything else is open. So to start, we have some DIN news, and that's Dragon DIN. We're starting to call it DIN. I don't know if that'll be the official name or not. So the updates there, we had a maintenance, I guess we call it a maintenance release last 2 days ago, that fixed a bunch of the bugs, particularly some of the ones that I was annoyed with on mobile, that made it harder to use. And there are other things coming that fix a lot of the things that you guys have brought up. So thank you to everyone that has posted stuff to either Bit by the Coin or inside of the new DIN support layer. We really will be approaching all of those, because a lot of them are annoying, me as much as you. And the team's been really great at getting stuff put together. We had a short delay on getting some of them. Some of them would have been a lot faster, except that we had some work with the CreatorWorks partnership to get them some of the features that they needed as they roll out. So that's ongoing. That whole thing is official, signed away, and we will be incorporating the DIN entity very soon. We have it all started, and we're just putting final touches on. I believe that it will be in Wyoming, which will be interesting as well, instead of Delaware. And that will be an independent entity, partnered with CreatorWorks, doing some really amazing, really valuable features for them and rolling them in. And we're basically finding a way that both community access and this more of a business focus will work together, and share a lot of the same, some of the same features and a lot of the same value. So it will be awesome. Really exciting stuff. Really good team over there. So that's all happening, and we are working on a couple of integrations, including the beginning. There is a team that is working, and you know them as the Global News Archive. They're using Eternal. I've been talking to them, of course, and they're going to be hopefully getting some extra automation built, so that there will be even more content, and there will be a DIN integration and everything else. So I'll talk to them about that. Maybe we can have them on or something in a coming week, and we can go over all the plans there. It'll be really neat stuff. Let's see here. We also have contracts signed last week, some really good, interesting tech. One contract that will be signed this week. We're waiting on some, which will be really good adoption, a really exciting project and neat system. And then let's see, we have upcoming marketing would be, a lot of you know about the Forbes ad. It was moved to late March, I believe, for the April issue, I think. And then some other really, we think, valuable ad and marketing that will be going on. It will be primarily focused on enterprise, and not on, how do I say this? Not on the crypto Twitter community. Now, that said, we do expect to have some surprises in there for the crypto people, so that it's kind of a a dual purpose ad. But one way or another, there'll be more info about that coming. And I think that's everything I have for status. There's so much going on. I probably there's some things that I'll wait until we have more info about to really share them. And I'm hoping to start, figure out a way. I know we're going to partner with the guys at CreatorWorks too, that we might be doing some stuff in conjunction with the Super Happy Show. We'll figure all that out later. So if you guys have any ideas, do always feel free to reach out and ping us. Before I forget, I want to make sure that we thank the people at Global News Archive and for basically doing a lot of really great marketing, that we've had some mentions and likes by some people with really good followings and really appropriate, and talking about how neat it is and how great a use case it is, and what a great use of the technology, including from CZ Binance, which that was awesome. And hoping a lot of that basically develops into getting us on the radar of the people that are doing selections for blockchain tech and for general tech that we have a better solution for. So now I will proceed to get to the AMAs. Let's see here. First, from Crypto Clown, when can we expect to see more activity on the platform, and especially on the node side, because rewards have been slow lately? Yes, we've had a period because we just did all the move and everything else. So the projects that I was working on, the projects that some of the others were working on, have there was a period there where there wasn't a lot going on, and we're hoping that as I can't answer directly. I don't know precisely when a lot of these customers will be pushing a lot of new transactions over, but I know that at least from a couple of the accounts that we are signing, that a big part of that will be the actual traffic that you will see in transactions on chain, and there's more of that to come. There are a couple also coming in what we're hoping it would be March, April, but those aren't even signed yet, so we'll see. But in the very least, there's one coming that I know will generate some good amount of transactions, and the purpose of it is promotional and marketing work. So it should actually have a good adoption rate. So anyway, let's see here. When I talk about contracts, this is JMML. The contracts signed by clients that they will use Dragonchain in the future. Well, yeah, it'll be basically contracts for development, and also for in consulting and development, but also operational. That's the systems that we are building and or that they are building with us will be running on Dragonchain, of course. So they would generate direct transactions on DragonNet that you would see. So that's really valuable, and that's what we're really after. And I think we're on the right track. Everything's good. Let's see here. Yes, Dragon community is the best community. It's obvious, and everybody knows it. And you guys are all great. And actually, it's other than the occasional drama that's caused by who knows what, you guys are always great to work with. So I appreciate that. Let's see here. Crypto Clown, can I disclose how many customers are using the platform without going into detail? Of course. You can look yourself how many level 1 nodes there are, and I can't. I don't even know how many customers there are. We have existing contracts. We have revenue coming in from those contracts. We always want more revenue, of course, and we always want more transactions, of course. So Um, the ideal customer would have a tremendous number of transactions, and we would be getting a good amount of revenue for the nodes and the transactions themselves. So as would you. So the best thing to do is the metrics, which that's what we're on the hook for. We're trying to improve that, and we're trying to make better sales at more strategic areas and use cases. And a lot of what we're doing right now is building out and then selling the capabilities. There are a lot of different industries that we can apply this to, and I didn't mention Dragon Factor as an example. We're working on a couple of different partnerships there, mostly around identity verification, so we can have an independent entity that is actually verifying your account. And some of that always takes longer than I want, because the tech side's really fast. And it's obvious to who we're talking to, but then the business side takes longer, because everyone wants to make sure that they're getting the best deal. And then the legal is always the long pole in the tent that takes too long. So we'll see how that all pans out, and hopefully we can get that rolling out soon. There are also some things coming up with Dragonscale, and it looks like that team is moving forward. But we still have legal arrangements to figure out, and not on the crypto side, the part that's the most up in the air always. That we have, we believe, really well established, but it's just on the partnership, on how we want to split it, if it's going to be a joint venture or if it's going to be licensed. But one way or another, someone will be using those capabilities, all of those designs that we put together. And some really interesting stuff is coming out of that. Let's see here. Cypher asks, how can a poor noob like me earn dragons? Let's see here. I mean, the best way would be to run a node, but we need adoption for that to really be something that would make good sense. We do have something that may be announced today for running nodes that that might apply. Otherwise, we have looked. I mean, there are a couple of solutions we've looked at that primarily involve a block reward, which would be equivalent to mining. So, and I kind of wish we would have already put it in place, but everything has to be done right, so it takes a while. But one way or another, what it would do is reward in some manner. It would reward dragons just for the creation of blocks, even if you had 0 time. And the reason is it would be a separate system. So if you have a lot of time, you would of course get the block reward plus the fees, which is very much like Bitcoin or Ethereum or other mining chains, right? And it would be set as a pool. So either the company or the foundation, and it would probably be the foundation. We would have to run that through the whole process with the foundation, but that they could reward for adoption purposes and to make sure that enough nodes are out there. So if you are interested, weigh in on that, let me know. But because we already have a plan in place, we just don't have all the numbers finalized as to what would the reward be? How would it be proportional? Would it be a flat amount for every block? It could be a lot of different things. So we'll talk a lot about that. Oh, and would it apply only to level 2s and level 3s? A lot of it would be around which levels do we want most. So there are a lot of neat modeling things we can do with that. So that's one great thing that I'd like to see. Let's see here. Mike Iannuzzi, I think. I've been out of the loop lately, but any news on why Dragonchain winners nodes? I'll probably get the numbers wrong here, so I'll try to stay away from anything too specific because I can't remember what we came to finally. But what we did there were a lot of Dragonchain nodes that were running, and it was costing us quite a bit. So what we did is offered two things. You can either drop down to a special level 3 pool that is only for Dragonchain users. So extremely simple. You can just say, okay, I'll turn that on and I'll apply my time there. And unlike the other pooled nodes, it would be an unlimited application of time. So you could put as much time as you would want on it. So there's some drawbacks to that, though, because if any of the other Dragonchain users had a ton of time, then it might not be that valuable to you. The other piece that we allowed as an option is to give you the ability to run a level 4 unmanaged node, which should be much more. It is much more likely to get a block. So because I think there are only 7, and if we do this, we're probably going to reduce some of the nodes that we control at level 4. So anyway, those two things I know, and we're looking to have. I believe the form will be out really soon. The team. I finally got the info back to the member of the team that's doing the rollout of that. So you'll apply to a forum. You'll have to give proof of identity. You'll have to give us your name. You'll have to, fill out some things and sign appropriate terms, NDA, in the form. And then with that, you'll be able to turn on a level 4 look wherever you want, in the cloud somewhere, or on your own hardware, ideally on your own hardware, but same time in the cloud if it's affordable. And I'm trying to think. I'm hoping that's out this week. I just gave the info to him, though, so I don't know how soon he'll have it. So we'll at least try to get it out by next week. And then we'll start processing those and start turning them on. I know a lot of the people out there are waiting for that and have been waiting, and I apologize. And we're going to at least do some proof. We ideally want to have met you in person, but there's going to be some level there where we can at least know who you are. And it will be on that node. So you have to be willing in the terms to have your name or the name of your entity, if it's a company, that is exposed inside the level 4 signing, and it'll be like, say, on Eternal as an example. It would in time it would actually show in the summary view, so you could see whose node actually signed this block at the notary level. Let's see here. Tenacious Dragon, thoughts on Disney's new CEO? Did you know this new guy? I remember the name, but I can't remember where I remember it from. The highest, and I'm trying to remember, Spence Newman was the highest person that I ever interacted with there, and he was CFO, so he was right below Iger. But I don't believe, I think it's Chipak or Chip, I can't remember his name, the new guy. I do not believe so. So, and I don't know. There, like I said in Den, there are rumors about various things related to controversial issues with Weinstein and ownership of that entity, and I don't know. That's what I've heard, but it's not from any inside source. So anyway, probably not that valuable for the info. Andre Garrido, what are Dragonchain's goals for the first part of the year? Okay, so I'll hit that one first. Basically, getting Den out the door, spinning it off, getting the team in Europe prepped for the Dragon Scale operation, and getting everything ready for that, which will probably go out Q2, I think. And sales. All right, sales on the platform. We have a few projects that are pretty exciting, that are really neat, and hoping to get everything signed and get everything kicked off and moving. Let's see here in the long term. So long term, to get Den to roll out as a customer, we're hoping that that entity is funded independently, so it becomes a really good customer that has money, that is paying Dragonchain to do the things that Dragonchain does, both in dev and in operations. That is, they're obviously, well, it should be said that they will obviously have a managed component that Dragonchain will be working on, and there will be an enterprise contract there. But there will also be a some level of probably unmanaged as well, because with some of the ownership of some of the customers, some of the users for Den and for CreatorWorks, that they will have a need to control their own data, whether it's because they're a dissident group, say Hong Kong or something else, or if it's because if they are a creator, a content creator, or an influencer, that they want to own their own content, or at least to have a tiered approach where they can have their premium content with better control, that they're not at the mercy of other big, YouTube and Instagram and other big entities that could cut them at any time and disrupt their livelihood. So some really good stuff there. What are we doing to achieve this? We're working our butts off. And that's all we do. And it's almost a 24/7 thing. So that's what we do. Let's see here. Despertar. Hi, Jean. Do you think Disney will use the blockchain of Dragon? Who knows? We of course know they did while we were there. And I made a concerted effort to separate myself when we did it, because I didn't want any issues with the token sale, and I didn't want any issues with ownership and everything else. So I've not, in fact, for that first year, I purposely did not even ask anyone what was going on inside afterwards. So who knows? You never know. I guess I don't really have an answer for you there. Let's see here. Kevin Gibson says, any benefit of having a golden JoJo? I know there will be some. We're hoping for a big one would be if and when we when we federate DragonNet, so that the billing systems can have escrows involved, and the all of the other pieces, including the matchmaking, can be controlled by multiple entities. I mean, it is a hybrid system. So this isn't Ethereum, this isn't Bitcoin. So we're not trying to achieve the level of trustlessness at the DragonNet level that we're leveraging Bitcoin and Ethereum and Ethereum Classic and Binance to do that. And what we're doing is instead saying this is the way that a real business can actually leverage those technologies. And so that's one way that anyone with the Golden JoJo would be able to create a federated DragonNet and have all of those pieces together. And so people would want those accounts on their team because they'd have to have that to do it. The other side would be potentially, like, say, when Den rolls out, I do think that there's going to be some neat stuff in there for the Golden JoJo as well. So, remind me if you don't hear anything, but I know that'll be something that'll be more readily happening. It should be pretty soon. And particularly when we roll out lore and lot smart contracts and have all of that stuff involved in the layer creation process. So if you're on Den, go register and get an account on Den and start building matter so that you have enough energy and so that you can really partake of these things that are coming out sooner. Because some of the things are built in so that you basically have to build up some level of reputation in the system in order to do more things, which is what will have value. Let's see here. Despertar. More Dragonchain. It's operative like a method of pay, like Visa. It's Dragonchain is a very generic business platform. A lot of times we're actually approaching the messaging that it's approaching people with the messaging that it should be considered an next generation enterprise middleware, that it is extremely good for glue code. That is, if anybody knows what people used to do with Perl, as an example, that it was kind of known in the sysadmin world as glue code, that I could connect this Linux or Unix service with this other Unix service, and it was very quickly doable and very powerful. And of course, that was in the old days. And now there are other things that kind of probably have I've not looked, I guess. I think Python is probably filling that role a little more now. But either way, we have the ability to do the same thing with smart contracts, and it's with any language. So you literally could do it with Python or Perl. I myself have even written shell script smart contracts on Dragonchain. And the point being, you can now integrate any traditional system. So if you have an SAP system, or if your enterprise uses QuickBooks, that any API that's exposed, and most modern systems have exposed APIs, means that you can connect your accounting system with your HR system and not have all of the very typical manual movement and re-entry of data. So we're doing some really neat stuff there, and that's kind of how we approach it. Now, when I say that, you can definitely build a payment system on top of Dragon, and we've proven the scaling for fintech and even potentially for some telco systems, that anything that you could do on a box today, whether it's specialized hardware or not, you could do on Dragonchain. And that's particularly valuable because of the way, and it's all about architecture. So it's all about scaling independent blockchains. And that's what Dragonchain is all about. And that does mean that you could do a payment system like Visa. You could do even a private or privacy-focused currency. And we do have one customer that's doing that. It's not going to be sold as a privacy-focused currency, but it is going to allow them to scale to any level they need, and also not have the fees that they would have with the token that we do think will be on Ethereum. But using Dragonchain, they're going to be able to do a lot higher scale, and yet still have the proof. So when someone takes the tokens from one system, they can have the full proof that they really did do what was required, and that they really do have a certain balance before that balance can be redeemed on a different system. So there's cool stuff like that going on already. Okay, let's see here. Despertar. Okay, Crypto Clown says you can use PayCent to spend your Dragon with a credit card. If that is the case, you can. There is an integration with PayCent that allows you to have an account and fund it and spend it with a Visa. So that might be the better answer. Let's see. Okay, he speaks about support for banks. Definitely. Okay, so for banks, we can definitely help there. We can also, and maybe more appropriately, anybody could create a currency in a day or less than a day. And how you model it could potentially be, what would take you longer. You can also leverage the security of separate chains to hold the tokens for reconciliation or whatever else as well. And on top of that, we do have some really good identity features that I do know that some banks are interested in particular for risk management to avoid data breaches. And I guess I should mention also to handle fraud in better ways, and to make it grandma proof, where it's not a techie focused product, because that won't ever go anywhere with banks anyway. So what we're really focusing on, and that's a Dragon Factor product, is that you can have a decentralized identity in a hybrid way that's extremely flexible, and that can be used by totally non-technical person. So it's really a pretty beautiful system. So let's see here. Tenacious Dragon. Who do you see as Din's competition, and how will you beat them? It's probably everything and nothing. Probably the what we're tending to focus on is a Reddit threaded interface to content, so that you can have an idea that can then people can converse about. At the same time, we are, of course, plugging in pieces of that would be a little more similar to Slack or YouTube, where it's more of a streamed chat. So there are some aspects there of that, and we are going to. We have the planning started, but we are going to have some level of direct message and group chat that would be end-to-end encrypted. That the primary focus on it is to try to get to make it simpler to use, so you can pop up, open up a quick conversation, and get done what you're going to get done, and then get out of it, and it'll just go away. And if you need to persist it, there would be a way to say, okay, I'm going to pay some energy to throw this on chain and to keep it actually stored, so I can search some information in it later. So we're looking at that. And otherwise, I mean, you could compare it to Steemit. There are a couple of others like Twitch, and I think there's something else coming out soon too. But we're focused very much on community forum and quality content. So rewarding quality content, rewarding people to evaluate quality content, or to evaluate the quality of content as early as possible, and then rewarding community owners or managers, or whatever you want to call them, basically the moderators, the admins, that they would actually have ownership. So unlike Telegram, where I can say, okay, you tend to really help out answering questions, I'm going to make you an admin, so now you have some rights. You can ban people, you can do other things, but there's no real ownership. And so with Din, a lot of people are thinking that might be kind of the killer app, that all of these layers have actual owners, and they own a slice of the layer, and it could be a big slice, a small slice. It could be a huge group of owners, or a very small group, probably depending on the community. But the beauty then is, in order to get to appoint someone an admin or a moderator, in order to give them rights, you actually have to give them a piece of that ownership. And we've already seen some effect, even before we have Lore and Lot, which are the two community ownership tokens, that just the sheer fact that people know they have ownership in that layer means they're going in and actually making their own content, or attracting their friends in to participate. So we think that's a big piece. And all of those things, so all of that, what someone considers the making of the sausage behind the scenes. When you read the Din white paper, it isn't simple. It isn't something that is like, a normal user. It's not focused on the normal user. What we're doing is we're putting all of that economy behind the scenes, so that a normal user who doesn't care about evaluating content, who isn't a content creator, and who doesn't have any interest in owning some of this community when they start, is that they come in and they do a Google search for something they're interested in. Here's a result. Boom. That after a while, they realize that the best content is showing up in Din earliest, earlier than anywhere else. Maybe the density of good content is what they notice, but then they can start participating, and then they realize there's an economy, and they realize that there's an upside to actually participating. So that's the angle on it. We'll see how it goes. Let's see here. That's I guess how we would beat anyone else. So okay, so it's 8:35. Let's see what we have. I lost my place. Sorry guys. All right. Let's see here. Bit by the coin. Is the European team for scale a Dragonchain team or a separate entity? Definitely a separate entity. We might be involved. I think I mentioned it. We might end up with some joint venture or something. But in the very least, the tech and the the software and the name would be licensed to this other entity from Dragonchain. And we will. I know we have some part. I don't precisely know what part we're building yet, but I know we have some part, and some pieces are already built as well that we're going to hand over. Let's see here, Julian Harvey. I suggest proposing the use of Eternal without charge to journalists and lawyers who do dangerous work as a form of commercialization. For example, bloggers who fight against the mafia and corruption. Excellent point. We've been kind of playing with that ourselves, and it's probably, I guess, best described as experimental phase right now to learn how to explain it, because I, for instance, have reached out to people who have either complained about posts being deleted by, let's say, Twitter, or people who are particularly doing some controversial content creation. And those tend to be researchers or journalists. And so I have already reached out to some of them and offered it up. And usually they're very busy people. And so you usually have this interchange where they'll answer, they'll talk to you, then they'll come back 3 days or a week later. And then you have to do a little bit of reset. But a lot of it's about, what is this thing? How does it work? What do I do? And I do know there are some things that the interface can help with, and we're working on that. There are some capabilities that we will have that we don't have yet that sometimes might matter in that case. But in a very general sense, yeah, we probably should. And maybe I'll talk to the team about this. It's a really good idea to take that, what you ask, and put in a form there. Are you a journalist? Are you we find some way to describe that, to let them apply. To show us your Twitter feed or your Facebook feed or your LinkedIn or whatever it is, or your blog, to show us where you're posting, and we will for one give you a free account, premium account, and potentially even work with you to integrate. We have one partner we're kind of waiting to get back with. They're busy with other things, that something similar to make it so that every time a story is posted, it's automatically thrown on Eternal. The proof is right there. Anytime an edit happens, the history is right there. So things like that would be remarkable, and that's a good idea. So maybe we can get that even added to the main page, because frankly, people using it is what will attract others to want to learn what it is, how they can use it. We've already seen some effect, even from some pretty big accounts. Let's see here. So good suggestion, Julian. Brian, let's see here. Schmrecker. Update circulating supply. Talk about audit results. Okay, so circulating supply. There was some conversation on Twitter about it, and I think a lot of people have been annoyed for quite a while that CoinMarketCap and maybe a few other sites cite the original 238 million Dragon circulating supply, which was the 55% of the 433 million Dragons, and rounded. And that one way or another, I finally had a chance, and I looked at the CoinMarketCap method to submit a request for a change in that. And I thought, oh yeah, there it is. And then I went in, and it was very in depth. So good work, CoinMarketCap. It was very in depth, and they do have criteria for which types of wallets would be considered in or out of circulating supply. And so I posted something on Twitter, and when I went through their criteria, the numbers different, of course, because I just did the simplest form when I posted that on Twitter. So I'm probably going to take what I submitted for CoinMarketCap and reply to my own tweet. But either way, we have that in, and on top of it, I did find in CoinMarketCap there are a whole bunch of fields that we had never touched. So others had submitted, and I don't know how that works, but others had submitted, like say the website and the Telegram channel and things like that. So I threw in Den, I threw in the blog area and the site. I threw in a few other things that they didn't have. Trying to remember what else, but there were some actual valuable pieces of info that they didn't have. So hopefully all of that gets updated soon. We'll see. They did say in response to someone on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, sorry about that, that there's no defined SLA response time. It is, they manage it. They have particular criteria, and then they post it or not. So pretty good. Let's see here. Factor demo. We're waiting. We have been focused so much on CreatorWorks and Den. The Factor we're waiting on. I think it might pick back up soon because we have some other mobile work going on for another customer that once we figure out that, then we're going to be able to go back and forth between those two apps with the same team. It'll be pretty efficient then. Let's see here. DocuSeries. Tokenizing, we expect, if I understand correctly, they're trying to get their app out for the promotional piece of the DocuSeries. So this is Rainmaker, Vision Tree, where you would be able to do some community promotions, and then you would be rewarded with coin, which then you can go and use it on their totally separate system to get security tokens. And that's, if I'm correct, they're hoping to get that out by sometime in May, because the show is supposed to be sometime in June. Let's see here. Global News Archive, again, bit by the coin. One of the team members, Global News Archive. So it's being built out. Really some exciting stuff there. I'm hoping that gets kicked off pretty soon. I'm going to try to get in there and help however I can. Let's see here. There's a small issue to pair the Paycent ERC20 address with Dragonchain platform. When will you work to solve it? I've not heard anything recently about it. I thought we had done everything that was necessary because we are just using Ethereum to do the account claiming. So if you need to claim your time in the console for purposes of running nodes, fees, everything else, and then also there's some component on Den that's slightly related, but that we've told them it's Ethereum. So as long as, if that person owns that address, which is being used, then, or if it's in proxy, it wouldn't matter to me how it works. As long as the person can sign a message in some way, we could probably claim it. They could claim it in the console, but I've not heard anything. So if they'd want to reach out, we can see what's possible. Let's see here. Let's see here. Julian Harvey. Okay, sorry. That was an answer to somebody else. Brian Schmecker, does Joe have a bunker for coronavirus? Unfortunately, not a bunker, not even a dumb, not anything that would be to that value. And my biggest problem is that we are so close to what would turn into a massive zombie apocalypse, because it's almost there already in Seattle. So we at least have some level of safety, and I try to do what I can for security, and I'm always ready to kill. So I might not always win, but I'm always ready to try. Let's see here. And that's a fun answer, right? Brian Schmicker, Joe, shave your beard. It's a virus magnet. I've considered it. It's been less bothersome than in the past, and I don't know why that is. I'm probably just thicker skinned now because of crypto Twitter. Let's see here. All right. In the past week, we've seen a considerable increase in volume and price of the token. I assume are Dragonchain clients buying tokens? I do not know. I do know that at least a couple of customers have put it specifically in their plan to accumulate Dragon in order to accumulate time. That they know that they're going to be putting through a lot of transactions, and they know that they're going to be in particular selling their services and their own products that they're building on Dragonchain. So they're going to need time, and we have some good ways to do in between that. They can use CTLC for example, and we would really love. And I think someone actually maybe asked about CTLC partner. We hope that someone will take that banner and run and help us build a better time leasing system that would allow people to set their own price and allow people to put in more time and to have a little better variety of contracts. So that's coming, right? At least we hope. And in the very least, we have ways that we can do some of that now. And I know, though, at least one of them, because I verified yesterday, is not buying them yet. I know they have it in their plan to do it. And I asked, because we were on a call, asked, are you buying them now? And they aren't yet. So that's good to know anyway. Let's see here. Oh, darn it, lost my place again. YouTube. Let's see here. What do I think of Mrs. Pierce crypto proposal for SEC? I have to admit, I've not had a chance to read it yet. I've skimmed it, and I have it in mind that I need to read it and make comments, and I'll put them in Den. How about that? I can't promise when, though. The things I've heard about it are good. A couple of the things I wasn't certain about, but we'll see. I think my biggest response, without reading it yet, so with a grain of salt, is that I'll put this out there. I'm willing to bet that they aren't considering all the things they could consider that would be valuable, that they themselves would find valuable. But I bet that they don't even think that they're possible yet. So that would be my guess, because that's what always happens. Let's see here. And, we had an interview with her in Singapore last year, right? So there's a potential we could reach out, maybe, who knows, if we have some brilliant, beautiful plan to help with that, maybe we could do that. Let's see. Brian Schmicker, it mentions, I assume the plan mentions, the ability to list on secondary markets. Would you want to provide this in a particular order? I'm not sure if I understand, but the ability to list on secondary markets, I mean, it is something that can be done independently. Like we've shown that we've never requested it to be or solicited anyone to list the token, but it's been listed. And, I wish things were clearer and simpler. In fact, I think that the crypto world would be remarkably safer for normal people if those things were clear, because the exchanges either have to kind of fly by the seat of their pants, or if they're really following every rule that they can possibly discern from what's out there, then they're limiting everything just to the top 2 or 3 tokens, which isn't very valuable to the rest of the world, unless you're a maximalist, of course. So apologies there, but I hope not. Let's see here. Tommy Vercetti, IBM recently spoke of Interchain as a trend to keep an eye on for this 2020. Nevertheless, it spoke of it as something difficult to achieve and still non-existent in the crypto world. Yeah, this is a common problem. Cutting through that type of noise, they have $1 billion marketing budget. They can say whatever they want. They can even write, as you guys have all seen, articles that try to, make fun of dragons and stuff like that. And we know that at least some of them know about us. We know that, we know some of them, of course. And even earlier, in our history, when we were still at Disney, when we first started doing this, that we knew the heads of the Hyperledger project. We knew the heads of the IBM, I don't know which title was, but the IBM component of Hyperledger project. They knew what we had at Disney, and they wanted it, right? And when we came out of Disney after it was open sourced, they even wanted to get us to roll into Hyperledger, and we were interested in integrating with Hyperledger, but I wasn't interested in just handing over the keys and saying yeah, just throw this into Hyperledger. So we know they know about it. We know a lot of them know about it. There is, and we've made I've made recent comment about one of the very, very large players that did evaluate our system and did have engineers building stuff that have customers that do a lot of private Ethereum and Hyperledger, because they deal with a lot of really big corporations and banks. And up until Dragonchain, all of that focus was on private chains, because they did not, as they were smart about this, they could not put their stuff on public chains. And we have been told by that group, and that's all they do is evaluate blockchain systems for those purposes, that we, at that time, and this would have been 5 months ago, that we were the only operational interop capability with other blockchains. And we proved it to them. We showed them how to interact with their own nodes, and moving forward, see what that does. But the thing is, we like to take those opportunities when someone like IBM mentions that, to, as politely as possible, tell them this exists. It's already there. It's easy for a business. It is very flexible. It is very safe. It is very clean. We've answered a lot of the questions, the scalability. In the end, it's all about architecture. It's all about structure. So one way or another, there's a huge opportunity. They're right about that being the thing in 2020, and we go past that, and maybe that'll be 2021 when everyone recognizes this. But it's not just about blockchain interop; it's about interop with everything. So that would be with traditional systems, that would be everything else, and it's also the other thing that everyone else is looking at that's talking about interchain or blockchain interop. They are only talking about, by and large, I'm not seeing any case otherwise, that they are talking about the interop or the exchange of assets between chains, which is beautiful and amazing. We've done it with the wormhole tech since 2018 with Dragons themselves. If you use Dragons in the system, you're already using that. But we see the real value as the security interop with other blockchains and the utility interop with other blockchains. Those things we think are the most massively important pieces, because we have, how do you say this? When you can actually leverage the utility of some new chain or some chain that's out there that you didn't know that you needed, that's when it becomes valuable. And it could be a currency utility, but it could very well be a storage utility or a decentralized compute or something else with one of the chains that's already out there. Let's see here. Will an eternal app be created for the App Store? Hopefully, yes. I have some really good ideas for how we can use that, and primarily to avoid some of the difficulties we've had with Twitter and using a bot on Twitter, that it fails so often, and it's not our system. It's Twitter throttling it for some unknown reason, and we either have to wait or we have to go and we have never hit their limits, they've told us, but for some reason sometimes it's just hidden, or it doesn't ever respond, the bot itself. And it's funny though, because when you go in, the tweet is eternalized, so it's interesting. And to solve that, I do want to create an app that will act as a go-between, so that basically you could share anything from any app with the built-in sharing mechanisms to Eternal, It'll eternalize it. Hopefully, you might be able to write extra content on top of that, commentary or whatever. But then from that eternal app, you'd be able to share it to any other platform. So you could share something from, let's say, Twitter, and then you can share it back, throw it into LinkedIn or something else. And that'll be really remarkable, because then the authentication and everything else is already built in. You already have the app. We won't have to worry about any of that, but it'll be very useful for a normal person. Let's see here. You're hoping that FUD around interchain is front and center in a docuseries. Great opportunity to cut through the noise. It's possible. I'll have to look in. I'm not sure. I can't even remember what the first few episodes were about. But I know that all of the typical crypto stuff and difficulties that we've seen will be definitely hit. So Forbes ad is very focused on enterprise. I mean, that's what it is, right? So it's we don't even care. We don't even bring up the negatives about crypto in there. We want to basically say, look, we give you the we let you leverage that capability without any of the drama or volatility or weird accounting or anything else. It's a big main point. See here, Julian Harvey. Do you think Disney will use several brands to take advantage of blockchain technology in the future? For example, it seems to have already started with Wax. I have no idea what Wax is doing. Somebody told me, or maybe on Twitter, I saw that maybe it's a card trading thing. I don't even know. So who knows? I'd imagine so, right? But doesn't matter. Let's see here. GAPCAMS123. JAppCams. It was mentioned in Telegram that the 24-hour presentation was more of a show to corporations and a test. How much more can you elaborate on this? It was what we said it was. It was a demonstration of the scalability of the system, framed as a 24-hour live stream so that people could see in full transparency, and anybody could point to it in the future, to show what we did, how we did it, and that it was out there for everybody to see. The code that we used to run that entire thing is open source, so you can look at the code. You could do it yourself if you wanted, and that was the point, to cut through the noise. If we did a webinar, or if we did a single demonstration, like I say on Super Happy, because we had done that before, it's effective, it's useful, it's valuable, but in this particular case, it was much more effective to show not just the throughput and not just the speed, but to show that it was the sustained transactions per second that can rival a typical financial network like Visa. And that we can have, we didn't even optimize for that spike at 15K. We just ran it. So the team was telling me that they found a lot of things that could definitely be optimized to get better results even. But that wasn't the point, right? It was to show a sustained throughput. I have like 1 minute left for the hour. Let's see here. Did I skip someone? Distant. I do not see. I'll look up here. I don't see. Anything I can say about interchaining with oracles from Link? This is Distant. I would like to set up an oracle eventually. Anyway, you can set up an oracle today on Dragonchain. Now on Link, I don't know as much about their oracles. Now they have decentralized oracles, right? So you need to consider the difference there, that we don't claim to rival Link with decentralized oracles. What they have is a remarkable and awesome, and I really would like to see it integrated, because it would be of value to Dragonchain customers, especially those that are really concerned with decentralized oracles. Our oracles are in the form of cron-based smart contracts. That is, that you can write an oracle to any other system provided it's a hybrid oracle that you already know that you have trust in the source, and you could decentralize it. You could create multiple oracles, and you could have some level of a decentralized oracle, but you would have to build it yourself. But it's a case by case anyway, so it makes sense. But what I offered on Twitter is, look, if someone from Link would want to reach out, we would love to integrate with a level 5 node for security, but also for the utility, that you could basically write much more flexible smart contracts on Dragonchain that your decentralized oracles can hit. There can be some other component that the Dragonchain is feeding the decentralized oracle with, and or in the very least that both sides can leverage the capabilities of the other. The main point of reaching out to them is, yes, we could set it up, but we are less interested as time goes on in maintaining nodes for other networks. We already maintain a Bitcoin and Ethereum Classic and a Binance node. We dropped our Neo node because the maintenance was too expensive. I haven't ever talked about this much, but maybe they'll reach out, because I would love to turn that back on again. But they and there is a local Neo office, right? If anybody reaches out to that, I haven't had time. One way or another, they had updates that broke our system, and there was no, at the time, this was back a while ago, not enough people were running the nodes in the public to warrant having enough documentation on how to fix it. So we just we didn't want to embarrass anyone, so we basically let it go dormant, and we only had 3 until we turned on Binance. So anyway, I'd like to turn on Neo again, and in much the same way, if someone from Link would offer, and we do have, I do want to mention, we do have one project that is already offered, and I need to get resourcing, if they're watching, I don't know. I need to get resourcing in place to execute that. But one way or another, the pattern we're wanting to find is that one of these other projects will say, okay, they're already running tons of their own nodes. You know this. Everybody who runs their own network does that. That if they could give us access to one of those nodes with certain capacity, it wouldn't even be very much effort on their part. Then we can write the integration point for Dragonchain, and then we would have from both sides the ability to use those different capabilities. So hopefully Link would do that. Some other people have mentioned some other projects as well. Let's see here. I'm gonna get to the end here. So talk about Link Oracle possibilities, please. I don't know enough about them. I know the decentralized oracles. I know that what I have read is really neat, very much needed in the world, and seems like it's a really cool project. But I've never built anything on Link, so I can't really answer too much. Gianluca Bari Porto 485. Are there any correlations with Disney Plus? Disney Plus, no, not right now. Of course, you can look at the history with Disney. We do have some. We obviously have history with them. They are the reason that we are here, right? Julian Harvey, Eternal would work well in a browser extension. Definitely, we've considered that in the past. And the question there is exposure. If you have to build one for just Chrome, what about Firefox? And it's not consistent enough. So that's why I had kind of thought mobile might be the best way to go. But as a browser extension, the nice thing there would be that it could scrape some of the site or all of the site that you're on, which would be really powerful. Okay, that's it. It looks like that's all the questions. We're 4 minutes past. I think I started a little late, so I think it's all right. It tells me I'm actually 3 minutes over an hour. So anyway, that's longer than I expected. Hopefully that is all right. And tune in next week. And hopefully we'll have a way to pronounce the episode number. Thanks so much. Bye.